Hello everyone and welcome back to Fighter Test Podcast with me, Tess Jewson, and my husband and co-host, Terry.
Hello you lovely listeners.
So last week we spoke about our relationship. Did that go down well?
That went down well. I just can't really remember how many years we've been together, but I remember the date, so that's all that matters, right?
I guess so. Never mind. So this week we're going to be talking about my work and how PH has affected my financial situation and our financial situation as a married couple. As part of this podcast, as well as talking about our financial impact, we're also going to mention the PHA UK Financial Impact Survey. This is called the True Financial Impact of Pulmonary Hypertension, and this survey was done in 2019. I think many people will find this survey very interesting as it shows the big impact that having pulmonary hypertension does in your lives.
We will link this survey in the description below as a PDF. It is also linked to the PHA UK website if you want to have a read.
This survey is actually a branch from the 2017 Living with PH survey. The PHA UK gathered important statistical evidence about issues affecting PH patients and their loved ones and made it clear that finances were an area of concern for many. The surveys were returned to the PHA UK and 171 responses were received. 63% of those surveyed said that financial worries had an impact on their lives. 26% said it had a major impact. And 63% said PH affects their ability to attend work or education.
So 1 in 4 people said it had a major impact in their lives. Has it had a major impact in our lives?
Yes, it definitely impacts us financially because I will never be able to work a full-time job. I am very lucky that the job that I do have, I can choose my own hours and therefore I base my job around my pulmonary hypertension.
I'd like to state now that many people have different pulmonary hypertensions, so may act differently than others. You might see some people in full-time jobs and some people who can't work at all. So take our advice with a pinch of salt. Who were involved in the survey?
The people in this survey all have pulmonary hypertension. 70% of the people were female. 59 years old was the average age of this study, and 53 years old is the average age of a PH diagnosis.
So most of the study is done with people under 60, I assume, because obviously the pensions come in and everything involved with that. Is that right?
It seems that this study has been taken from those who are at an age of being able to work, and also those who have had to stop working because of pulmonary hypertension and are before the age of retirement. 76% of patients saw their financial situation decline since being diagnosed. These people were under 60.
So that statistic doesn't really help us because you were diagnosed before you started work.
I was diagnosed at the age of 17 when I was still at college, but I actually had my life planned out. I was a musician at the time and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a professional trumpeter, but unfortunately, due to my diagnosis, I had to stop playing trumpet. It was rather devastating for me, but I knew I would find a way of keeping music in my life. That was me.
So let's get into some statistics. 60% of people say they now have more difficulty paying bills. 59% of people have had to take money from savings to get by. So let's say you're 40 years old and you've been newly diagnosed with PH. Will it be a big impact on you?
Yes, definitely, because pulmonary hypertension can be very severe or it can be mild. It's a personal choice on whether pulmonary hypertension will affect your financial situation. For majority of people, I've heard they've had to give up their job, which is very sad. But pulmonary hypertension can be devastating, and the impact that it gives on someone financially is quite severe.
One of the statistics that came out, which was quite depressing, unfortunately, was that 27% of people who'd been immediately diagnosed had to give up work completely or reduce their working hours. What is it about their pH that makes you unable to work?
Pulmonary hypertension has many symptoms: severe breathlessness, migraines, headaches, chronic pain, swelling in the legs, dizziness. All these can make you not be able to do anything during a day. Yes, we have medication, and we are very lucky that we have this medication on the NHS, because medication for pulmonary hypertension is very expensive. So we are very lucky that we have the NHS here in the UK. Due to our symptoms, it means that many of us can't actually hold a full-time job. Chronic fatigue is another symptom, and if we do too much, our symptoms will flare up. We will be unable to do our job to our best ability. That's why either we sadly stop working or we have to cut down the hours for a job that we love.
Well, that's a shame. What about for the employer? What could they do to help you in this situation?
I've always been self-employed because running my own business, I could choose my hours. I can choose when I want to work, how many people I'm going to teach. For example, I did have a teaching business, and I was able to space out my students during the day so I wouldn't get tired easily. I now have a new job as a music therapist. I'm still self-employed, but I'm contracted to work for a company. Now, I'm very lucky that I have a very supportive manager. She understands that I have pulmonary hypertension, and there are days when I am unable to work, whether this is a sudden migraine or just feeling unwell, and I let her know straight away that I cannot work. I think if you have a manager that is supportive and understands that you have a chronic illness, then it will make your life as an employee much easier.
Another thing that came up in the actual survey was the hidden costs of pH. Because obviously we know about workplace affecting you and everything, but the amount of time you have to spend going to hospitals and everything, has this been a cost that has affected us?
Most definitely. We are in Chelmsford. My pH specialist is at the Royal Brompton Hospital in South Kensington in London. Now, going from Chelmsford to the middle of London during peak time can cost around £40. Now, £40 per person is a lot of money to go up for a pH clinic. Yes, it's very important, but unfortunately we don't get any financial help with our travel expenses. There's also the impact of medication. Now, I did say the pH medication is on the NHS, so we are very fortunate in that way. But there is also the extra medication of antibiotics. For example, when I get a chest infection, I have to go straight on antibiotics. Now, this isn't on the NHS, and I have to pay for my medication. There's been one time where I've ended up having to pay £36 in 1 week to go on antibiotics and other medications to help me through a chest infection. Now, this is extortionate money, and people don't realise the amount of money we have to pay to keep ourselves well and to keep ourselves going. The impact of having a chronic illness, travelling, medication, working, is just unreal for some people. I think people can't imagine how much it does impact our lives.
Yeah, it's all those oranges we buy, isn't it, to increase your vitamin C?
Or the spinach to increase my iron.
Now, I'm going to bring you back to one of these stats, which I always find quite funny, is the fact is that they say 53% have spent more on electricity bills and gas bills. Now, is that because you're quite cold in our house? Would you agree with that?
I think people with pulmonary hypertension, their body temperatures do fluctuate. We can get very cold quickly, and that's because our heart does have trouble pumping around the oxygenated blood, which will keep us warm. So I guess putting on the electricity and the heaters, you will see an increase in bills.
I think an increase in jumpers is more like it.
Or hoodies.
So I'm going to go to more making ends meet to the section. It's about more borrowing money from friends, banks, or their own savings to get by. So what is the first year, do you think, like for someone?
I think it's really worrying. It's a lot to take in, it really is. And then to think about your financial situation on top, it's a real fear, it's a real worry. For me, I was very fortunate that I was a student still, and I didn't have to pay for any bills because I was still living with my parents. But now I'm married and we're living together as a married couple. We've realised the financial strain that PH has on us. Terry, you have a full-time job. You can do the full 40 hours, or whatever you do, 2 hours.
40, thank you.
And but me, I can't even do 10.
Well, this is the thing that where I come in a little bit, is that I'm able to actually get more of a stable income. Now, a lot of people may not be in a relationship when they get diagnosed. They might be a bit older, where they might be in a better situation as well. But because we have a stable income coming in, we're okay to pay the bills and not have this emotional worry. Because obviously, in the survey as well, it said 54% affected their mental, emotional and well-being. What advice would you give to those people to try and get over this?
Mental health affects us in different ways, so that's quite a hard one to kind of answer, really. For me, having this job has been fantastic because I am an independent person. Even though we're married, I do want to be able to make my own money. To have to rely on you sometimes because I can't afford something that I really want, or I need to do something else but I can't afford it. It is really depressing. I'm a 30-year-old woman and I have to ask my husband for some money. It does hurt. It really does hurt because I want to be able to go out there and know that I can afford what I want to do. But having a part-time job, it does make it really difficult. But you're quite supportive, aren't you?
I'm a very supportive guy. You should know that by now.
Yeah, seriously, Terry has helped in many ways with the financial situation. And we've had to juggle, haven't we, Terry? There's been times where we've had to say, okay, we'll do this week, but next week we'll have to stay at home. We can't do everything. Also, when we go on holiday, people also have travel insurance. Insurances we'll talk about another time. But travel insurance is just off the scale for those with chronic illnesses such as PH. I went to Italy. Well, actually, we went to Italy, didn't we?
Yeah, so I was there as well.
For the week, I had to pay over £160. What did you pay, Terry?
I think I paid about £20. It was extortionate.
What I'm saying is, we are paying to have pulmonary hypertension. It's not our fault, but we're paying for it. Insurances are showing that. Another insurance is life insurance. There's no way in hell I'll be getting life insurance. So good luck, Terry. So as you've heard from the statistics in this survey, pulmonary hypertension has a major impact on everyone's financial situation. Whether it's giving up your work, cutting down your hours, or just trying to get by for everyday life. Money is very important in life, as we all know. It helps us get through what we want to do, helps us have fun, enjoy, live life, bills, everything. We need money. Money makes the world go round.
If you are having trouble, there are benefits available to help. We will link the benefits webpage on the PHA UK to see if that may help you and see if you can get the help you may need.
Remember, benefits are very individual to everyone, so you may or you may not get them, but please take a look and see what help you may be able to get. It may be the difference for you that you really need. So this has been quite a serious conversation today. We've spoken about the true financial impact of pulmonary hypertension and how money has really affected us.
It's a very serious conversation, but don't think money is the means to an end. It only helps you live your life. It's when money affects you mentally, that's when things get really tough. So on our last podcast, I asked to see if anyone wanted any questions for this one, and we had a question come through. This question is by Sarah. What do you do when you're having a poorly day/week and are due to work?
When I'm having a bad day, I tell my manager straight away that I'm poorly and I'm unable to work. As I mentioned, I have a very supportive manager and she understands what I'm going through. If it lasts throughout the week, then unfortunately I have to take the week off. I mentioned in my interview that I have pulmonary hypertension, and she still took me on. So I'm very grateful that despite having this chronic illness, she still felt that I could do this job and be a benefit to her company. Sometimes there are times where I've had to cancel within 10 minutes of starting work. This is usually the case with a sudden migraine. Everyone does get ill at times, whether it's because of pulmonary hypertension or something else. And I feel that if you have the support and care around you that you should have within a company, then you'll get on just fine.
Excellent. Thank you for your question. So now that we've gone through quite a lot about this survey, should we talk about your recent trip to the hospital, Tess?
Oh, yes. I've got a broken finger.
What?
I slammed my finger in my car door last Tuesday and it's still swollen, and thanks to Terry, we left it late.
So it was self-inflicted and now you're blaming me for it?
Well, you did say that it's probably fine, so we didn't go to A&E.
We put ice on it. I don't know what more you wanted.
So yes, I kept complaining last week, so on Friday, Terry decided to take me to A&E, where I had an x-ray and it had shown that I have a fracture in the tip of my finger. I will be returning on Tuesday this week to get a proper splint on it, and hopefully it won't affect my music playing too much. Well, thank you for listening to our podcast this week. We hope you've learned some interesting facts about pulmonary hypertension and financial impacts. If you have any questions regarding the survey or you want to ask us, then please do get in touch via email, vitatestpodcast@gmail.com, or via my social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We look forward to seeing you next week in our next podcast. See you later.
See ya.